See where you're doing that? I'll let everybody know exactly what we're doing. So it's a couple of days before Christmas time. We're going to call this our Christmas special. Hopefully, I'll get this out before Christmas. I should do. A couple of the students had said to me, I think you should be a guest on your own podcast. And I wasn't keen on that at all. Not to begin with anyway. And then you messaged me one day and said, I think I know who you should have on your podcast. And I'd obviously text back saying, who? And you replied, you. So you kind of signed up to be the host by initiating that hopefully good idea. We'll see how this goes. Might not be a good idea, but how does it feel to be hosting your first podcast?
I'm absolutely fine because it's who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
We kind of free flow conversation pretty well, and I've got literally an idea in my head that I hope will work. So interesting to see where it goes.
Christmas specials are meant to be fly by the seat of your pants anyway. So whatever level.
Pretty much how it's going to go. Look, right. Do you want to start with?
Yeah, let's go. We're recording anyway, so let's roll.
Right, okay. Now, I've known you a while, and you've obviously been in martial arts a long time, a lot of experience in that, right? I think that the first question that I think everybody really wants to know is, what is your favourite Christmas movie and why is it Die Hard?
That is exactly. We were talking about this. Tracy and I, my wife, were talking about this last night or the night before, and it absolutely is Die Hard. Like any hot-blooded male that says that it isn't Die Hard are either lying or they've not seen Die Hard. So no, it is. It's absolutely Die Hard. Do you know? I think that's what all the listeners have been waiting to hear. I think
exactly.
Nobody's interested in the martial arts. They're interested in Die Hard, and so they should be.
I know. It is. You actually nailed that one there. We somebody got a longer conversation. So here's the thing: is why is it a Christmas movie?
Because it's based at Christmas, isn't it? No, I'll tell you why. It's a Christmas movie for a number of reasons. It's a feel-good movie. It's based at Christmas. Okay, I'm actually out with that. So, yeah. Oh, there's snow, which comes with Christmas time, obviously. So it's snowing, it's set at Christmas, and it's a feel-good movie. There you go. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. It's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie, isn't it?
It's a Christmas movie. The argument that you settled, I was wondering if we were going to come out with the TikTok answer, which was kind of going viral.
Right.
There was two incidents in it that they make it absolutely a Christmas movie. The first is that they broke in during a Christmas party.
Didn't even think of that.
Right?
Yep.
What other celebration? You know, you get that Easter or Thanksgiving or somebody's birthday. So that, and the other thing is that when he flies the guy down the lift, the shot, it says, "I have a machine gun now, ho ho ho." You would not get, "I have a machine gun now, happy birthday, Dave."
Indeed.
It's absolutely a Christmas movie. It says otherwise, it's gone.
Can I just say that I think what's made this the Christmas special of the Martial Focus podcast is you sitting there with that lovely fire in the background. Anybody that's just listening to this, I'll try and describe this. Stevie's sitting with a lovely fire in the background, a Christmas tree, and a lovely white beard. And you're probably about 20 or 30 pounds off of being the main man. I'm not going to lie. So you just need a wee red suit and it would be the perfect picture.
Yeah, I'm not even going to argue with that. You know, I was looking for it. I was going to try and open up a Santa hat, but I couldn't find one. You know, I've got the glasses and everything. I reckon I could have looked at. I really could have looked at. Anyway, let's go on. This podcast is kind of going to be less about martial arts for a good party and more about yourself.
Okay.
Things that drives you, influences.
Yeah.
And so on. Right. So we'll talk about Die Hard be a Christmas movie. From my experience in life, there's a lot of movies in my life that's, you know, I'm going back to like stuff I've watched that was made in the 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., right up to modern classics.
Yeah.
So looking through your life, what kind of films have sort of like and genres have inspired you? You know, I'm kind of guessing like there was a bit of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Lee in there, but you know what else? You know, from younger, you know, changed your attitude to what you're doing, society in general, made you think twice about maybe, you know, some things that you take for granted.
Yep. What a brilliant question. I need to watch You Don't Do Me a Job here, Stevie. I think I mentioned it a wee second. Maybe I didn't. It was definitely in my head. But I like hope. So I like hope. I like underdogs. I like feel good stuff. But so what you're looking at, I know everybody says this, or most people say this, the Shawshank Redemption. That's about never losing hope. Cinderella Man, which is a fantastic movie, Russell Crowe. That's about overcoming just horrific misfortune, poverty, challenges in life, and having that hope to then achieve. If anybody doesn't know what Cinderella Man is about, it's about James Braddock, who in the 20s, 30s, early 40s, I believe. Yeah, it would have been the 30s. Was the heavyweight champion of the world, and pretty much came for nothing. So, yeah, Shawshank Redemption, Cinderella Man. I love a good gangster movie. Now I don't know if that, like, see, like things like The Godfather and stuff, but I don't know whether that influence. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't influence what I'm about. I mean, I'm certainly not getting people off and sending them dead fishes in the mail, but what else? Martial arts movies, as you said. This is going to be quite controversial, but Bruce Lee never really done it for me.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan myself.
I wouldn't be looking any further than Enter the Dragon. And I mean, people, you speak to anybody really who's maybe my age and a wee bit older, and he was the man, and it was Bruce Lee this and Bruce Lee that. I wasn't there, remember, I'm still a wee bit younger. I wasn't there when that was all kicking off, but I don't know. So maybe that's, I should maybe use this as the little clip, because that'll send the internet mad, me sitting here saying that I don't. Let me be careful what I say there. Am I really trying to say that Bruce Lee wasn't all that? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is he wasn't all that for me personally. Van Damme, yep, for sure. Steven Seagal, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, all these guys that the sort of late 80s, early 90s action movies were fantastic. But again, another Russell Crowe one, Gladiator. That's about hope, isn't it? It's about overcoming stuff. I used to think Morgan Freeman was my favourite actor, but I actually think it might be Russell Crowe, because A Beautiful Mind as well.
I love that film.
Yep. I used to always say, yeah, Morgan Freeman, because I'm a big movie geek. I absolutely love movies, and I have lots of conversations about movies, and I always used to think it was Morgan Freeman, but I don't think it actually is. I think it's Russell Crowe. And maybe just because of the movies been in, because Cinderella Man was Russell Crowe, Gladiator, obviously, A Beautiful Mind. Did I mention Romper Stomper? God, going back to his New Zealand days, aye. Christ. So I think that's the sort of movies that influenced me, was ones about people overcoming stuff. I do this with my own students as well. Like, I've got this real passion about people finding what they don't think's there.
Mm-hmm.
I know you do as well, because we've spoke about just helping people to overcome stuff, and people always give up on themselves, I find, before I give up on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I like these. So listen, do you know what I was watching the last 2 nights? Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. Boom. There you go. I mean, you can't get any better than that as regards to hope and overcoming adversity. It's brilliant.
The first Rocky I seen was Rocky 3, because
Yep.
in my early years, my early mid-teens, like I was like Audrey Hepburn or Marilyn Monroe, or like On the Waterfront, you know, the old classics.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a wee bit older. Like I had no time for films like that.
Yeah.
I was a strange boy. And like genuinely, the first time I watched The Terminator was when I was working at a nightclub door and everybody was raving about it. I think it just my attitude changed a wee bit. The classics. The thing is, people seem to forget that Stallone won Oscars for Rock.
See, when you mentioned The Terminator there, here's a quick story. I had I think back on it as an argument. It obviously wasn't an argument, because I was a young kid, just went to high school, and my computing teacher, and he was the sort of teacher that we used to, I remember joking with people at school about, he would just appear everywhere. Like, no matter what mischief you were up to, he would appear. So we never kind of got on, really. But I remember having this discussion with him one day in computing class, that he said Terminator and Terminator 2 are nothing other than time travel movies. And this might be one of my first memories of this, because especially Terminator 2, and again, here I go again, Terminator 2 was about hope.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was about. See, when Schwarzenegger sacrifices himself as a Terminator, spoiler coming up, by the way, for the movie that was released a year ago, when he's going down into the lava and that thumb goes up, that's what that movie's about. It's not about time
sacrifice, travel. Like taking control. Like the second one we done, I quoted the line from Sarah Connor: "There is no hope, there is no fate but the fate we make."
Yep.
And, like these they're now memes.
Yep.
You know, like all these things that came from the movie, these sometimes throwaway lines. "I love you, Adrian." Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Everybody knows what that is. You know, I've heard kids coming out with quotes from movies that I've never seen because it just became a meme.
Yep. 100%.
And you say, so when you look at that, like, you know, as you say, hope, the desire not to give up, or the realization that you may, in this situation, you may be the only person that's able to see the whole picture and move forward at your own risk and possibly facing your own demise.
Yep.
And like the main character, was Schwarzenegger, but for me, the main character is Sarah Connor in both films.
Yeah.
And it's her driving commitment and sheer desperation and bloody mindedness not to give up, don't give up. That kind of makes both those films, and I think they are kind of like human spirit driven, objectively good movies.
Yeah.
You know,
see, even with TV shows, like we were sitting having dinner last night, and I've been watching Afterlife again. So anybody who has been living on Mars and hasn't heard of, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Right.
I know. I need to watch it.
It's magic. I must have watched it. I don't know how many times I've watched it. Again, there's no spoilers here, because Ricky Gervais's wife dies of cancer. You know that right from the beginning. And we're heading for season 3, so that's why I've been watching it again. And Tracy's, again, people that don't know Tracy, my wife, is saying, I'll watch this when I watch season 3 again with you, but I am not sitting through this again. So anyway, she sat down for dinner with me last night, and I had it on again. And I swear to God, she hadn't sat down for more than a minute, and the tears were streaming down her face, making her dinner all soggy. She was howling. And I was obviously laughing at her. But anyway, here's the point. I'd said to her, I know that this is horrendously sad and it's hysterically funny as well. And I don't know whether it's just because I'm this sort of geek as far as movies and TV and stuff goes, but I never ever saw it at that level. I saw it at the level of this character trying to find, and I'm going to say it again, maybe for the last time, hope that things could get better. No matter that's the message through the full thing, that no matter how crap this guy's life actually is, that there's a way out. I think there's a way out for everybody, and that might be naive. I know a lot of people speak to me about their mental health, for example, and I've got to balance this enthusiasm I have, I'll call it that for the minute anyway, with being I need to watch that doesn't become uncaring when really it's coming from a position of complete care, because I think it's the last thing we lose as human beings. Even on your dying, your very last breath, I think is a breath of hope. That's something that goes through my mind all the time, that things can get better. We can do better as individuals. We can do better as martial artists and help people. And there's always hope. And that's what I got out of that program as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there you go.
It's funny, like, I like Ricky Gervais. I can understand why people don't like him, but I do like him, and I think that he is actually quite a decent guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
he likes his dogs, I believe.
He's got dogs and cats. I think I know he's definitely got cats. I know he works. There's a dog in Afterlife, which is his sort of saving grace in many of the episodes, but he was, again, it's funny because I was talking to one of my students this morning, actually, who was in doing some training with me, and I'd said to her, he was the only person that I would risk getting COVID for, because I went to see him just a couple of months back in Glasgow, and the place was packed, and we were all supposed to be wearing masks and stuff, but nobody was, and I've been really, really careful and cautious of where I've been going. So, yeah, I mean, there's probably two people that have been breathing over me in the last year and a half. One's Tracy, my wife, and the other one's you. Maybe better clarify that. That's well.
Oh, no, but I think you just leave that there. Right? I think we could just leave that there.
I think we will.
Let the people decide.
So, I have been really, really careful, but when Ricky Gervais's stand-up show came around, I was happy to go to that. So I was, and I think he's misunderstood. I really do. I think he's hugely, or maybe deliberately misunderstood, is more to the point.
He punches, but he doesn't really punch down.
No, he doesn't at all. He doesn't at all.
And I think that there's a certain amount of people that think that comedy you should only aim it at certain things, or you should be careful where you aim it. Jim Jeffries, who's one of the darkest comedians I know, he's brilliant. And I'll sit there and go, I didn't quite like that, but I don't have a problem saying it. Mm-hmm. And there was like something, Disabled Society of Australia or something, invited them to do like a charity show and asked them to turn up and do, like, half an hour for them.
Yeah.
And he said to them, like, have you seen my work before? And they went, yeah, you're literally the only comedian in this world that will stand there and slag us off.
Yeah.
I want music, literature, movies to touch me somewhere. I want to feel a connection to it. Yeah. And comedy as well, I want a connection, and sometimes that connection is going to feel like a punch in the stomach, but it's still funny. And as long as it's done, not politically correctly, but in a way where I mean, a joke is basically is a sentence with a surprise ending.
Yep.
You know, as long as it's not necessarily twisted evil or malicious, then I will take that. And I don't mind sitting at a comedy show and going, yeah, I didn't like that one, but I'll take the rest of it. But I'm not going to complain because, you know, comedians, they can have a broad spectrum in their shows. So no, I do appreciate. I don't watch how many he does. I wasn't keen in the Office. I wasn't going to get into extras, but when he stands on the stage, I think
I need to leave right now, Stevie. I need to leave right now. That might be the furthest apart we've ever been. Because oh God, it's comedy genius. See, watch Afterlife. Promise me you'll watch that.
I'll watch Afterlife. I'll tell you what I don't like in The Office. I grew up with some others do some others do have them.
Yep.
And right? They are classic. They are funny. I've seen them. I've kind of laughed most of the time. But to me, it's like this thing when you know someone's failing so badly, and you see what's coming. I'm just going, go. You know, so the Basil Fawlty and Frank Spencer characters, they're tragic characters.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but it's uncomfortable for me. I don't enjoy it, and that's what I was enjoying The Office. Same way as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. My mate tried to get me to watch that. I didn't even get through the first episode. I'm just not enjoying this. I would never say this isn't funny. This isn't good comedy. This isn't well written.
Yeah.
You know, you've got hundreds of millions of people that enjoy this. I'm just not one of them.
See, that's the thing, but because David Brent as Ricky Gervais's character and Michael Scott in the American version are you've summed it up. You've summed 90% of their story up to a T. Sometimes, especially the Ricky Gervais version, the Michael Scott American version with Steve Carell, that was done a little bit lighter, probably for the American audience, to be fair, right? But some of the David Brent stuff was physically uncomfortable to watch. It was physically uncomfortable to watch until the last 10% of the season. Actually, with the British version, until the Christmas special, where it comes good for him. And that's that's getting back to what we were talking about the movies. You watch 95% of Cinderella Man, and it's about a man with one bit of meat that he's managed to get for him and his wife and his two kids as dinner, and he doesn't get any work and he loses everything, and it's horrific to watch.
No, it's a phenomenal film, and as you say, your man is phenomenal in it.
Yeah,
great cast, great music, great storytelling.
Yeah,
it is objectively a very, very good film.
See that bit? See where they're like a new heavyweight world champion of the world, James Braddock. It's just like, I was like, yes, come on! Like, it's amazing because it gets me in there. It really, really does. Stories like that.
For me, it's a personal thing because when he won it, and he interviewed and went, "Why did you come back?" And he went, "I needed milk for my kid."
Yep. Yep.
And it's the simple things that drive people.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? You know, give me a second. Right. So it's the simple things that drive people to do extraordinary things, like feed your family.
Yep.
I mean, there is, there's literally nothing you would do when it comes to your family in extreme circumstances.
Yep.
Right. You would do that. You
would
do anything you could, So as these kind of stories they're very good stories, very well written. But anyway, I'm going to move on.
That's fine, right? Yep.
Obviously, I followed Insta now, and one of the things I've noticed, one Jim, and it makes me laugh. And in the Insta, like you play the guitar, you've got a real love for music.
Yes.
The way you play the guitar, and your music choices in the gym are eclectic. It's kind of, you'll play anything as long as it's not been like not released in about the last 8 years.
That pretty much sums it up, aye. Yep.
You're pretty, half the time getting in, you're like playing my childhood. So, like, again, getting back to the same question, right? It's quite eclectic mix in music. What genres, what artists, writers, composers? Now, it could be pop music or classical, what musically, what kind of drives you? What's inspired you? Like, again, from your younger right up to present day.
That's another brilliant question. See, to put all the cards on the table, I have been bugging Stevie for weeks now, saying, right, what are you going to ask me in this podcast? Like, you need to send me your questions. And Stevie, you done really, really well. Not one hint did he give me what he was going to ask me tonight, but that is another brilliant question. And hopefully I've got another brilliant story to tell about that, because my mum is Scottish, and it's important to say that. So she's a white Scot, and my dad is Tunisian, so he's obviously got that African base, that African heritage. So growing up, I had two really extreme influences there. So I had, on my mum's side, ABBA, the Carpenters, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Neil Diamond. And again, yes, I don't know what this is saying about my parents, but that sort of white poppy influence. And then I had the soul influence for my dad, the black singers. First, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, the greatest singer of all time, in my opinion, Wilson Pickett, Benny King, Harold Wilson, all these guys. So that kind of gave me a really brilliant mix, I felt. And I still...
got to quickly interject here, right?
Yep.
I've got two white parents that came from, and little was brought up in the same music.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when I say that, it's just, that was probably coincidental that was the case. I mean, the Rolling Stones are one of the most, are one of the rock bands most influenced by black music.
Yeah.
They're all white. So you see, to clarify, you see what I'm saying there, but it was, it gave me a brilliant mix, and I still listen to all of them. So the sort of soul music kind of merged or led into hip hop. Not as a direct link, but it just kind of, I moved to that. So like your Jay-Z's and stuff that you'll hear. So I could have Jay-Z on, and then the next song would be Waterloo. Do you know, by ABBA? So music influences is just, there's nothing I don't think. I'm just recently getting into jazz music. There's nothing at all that I'm not into. One of the things that I enjoy the absolute most is opera or classical music. Like somebody like Andrea Bocelli, right? And here's why I like it. I remember being in the gym one day, and I had my earphones in as I was coming into the changing room, and took them off, and they were still blaring out. And the guy getting changed next to me said, "Andrea Bocelli, that's strange gym music." But here's what I love about it. Every time I listen to that, it means something different to me. I think that's amazing. Like, there's a lot of songs where you can listen to the lyrics, or you'll hear somebody saying, "Yeah, I wrote this song about XYZ." But I've never even investigated what music in a foreign language is about. So if I'm feeling on top of the world one day and I listen to Andrea Bocelli, it means that to me. But then if I'm feeling quite down one day, it means that, because I've got no idea what the man's saying. I don't even know what any of the lyrics are, and never ever investigate what they are. So what was your original question? What's my main musical influences, was it?
No, through the years, Now, I can look back and go, you know, my pre-teens, it was, you know, it was kind of glam rock and disco.
Yep.
Then into like ska punk mods sort of thing, and then, you know, built pop, just different things through the 80s and 90s. So I was just looking at your journey. You know, you've told us where it started, and
Yep.
you know, see, there's this music's coming out just now. I just go, wow, that's, you know, it's really good. And I think that, funnily enough, one of the things that's actually the drives music just now is TikTok.
Right. Okay. I actually don't have TikTok.
There's songs like coming on the radio, and I go, that plays over that clip I like.
Yeah.
So you've got a connection. So you just hear it for the first time on the radio, and you go, yeah, a minute, I'm going to give that more of an ear, rather than like, there's a bit of noise in the background. So, like, so basically, like the music that I look at, I've got memories stuck to it, good or bad. And I was driving home tonight, and there was a song by Susan Vega called "Marlene on the Wall,"
Right.
and it was a song back in the 80s that kind of I played like kind of almost ad nauseum, and it got me through some, you know, difficult times.
Yeah.
And I was listening, going, wow, you know, that's still kind of, you still get that wee punch in it for me. And but for me at that time, it was something that meant a lot to me. So that's what I'm saying. You know, you've got these songs. What were they? And if you can, why did they make you feel up, down, and different?
That's okay. That's the question. Maybe I could put groups or artists to certain stages in my life. So the first bit, do you know the first group that was I guess was my own choice? Not as in I searched them out, was Guns N' Roses. So you're talking about 87 for Appetite for Destruction. So I would only have been 5 then. So I was born in 82. So Appetite for Destruction came out in 87. I didn't pick Guns N' Roses up until like 1992. Guns N' Roses released Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 on the same day. So they released these 2 huge albums in the same day. And that got me through. When I say got me through, that looking as if I was leading this hard life, but you know that took much.
Inspired you, drove you.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. I remember getting. Remember, you used to get the Green Army jackets and stuff, and that sort of look. And I remember putting all this stuff on one day and going down the stairs, and my dad was pretty much like, "Nah," like in uncertain terms, and yeah, things like that. But so there was that, and then what happened was Britpop happened. So that kind of took me through the later teenage years. You were either Oasis or Blur. I was Oasis. Still am Oasis.
You've got that look about you.
I think I do, actually. I think I do. I always remember Noel Gallagher doing an interview, and they were saying, "Oh, how do you write your songs?" And they were wanting some big, deep, meaningful answer. And he says, "If now rhymes with cow, then I go with it." He says, it actually doesn't mean much. There's a few Oasis songs with stories behind them, but Oasis, who else did we like? The Verve, Richard Ashcroft, brilliant. And then I'm trying to think what happened after that. Who would have been there?
You're heading into times where you met your wife.
Do you know, I'll tell you somebody else who I've seen live a couple of times, and it was going through my head when you were talking about how things develop. Justin Timberlake. Now, let me finish. I think to myself, if there wasn't a James,
I went to see MC Hammer. I am not judging anyone.
So, Justin Timberlake, we've seen twice, and he was brilliant both times. I haven't seen Justin Bieber. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning Justin Bieber here is because if it wasn't for James Brown, there wouldn't have been and when I say this, I don't mean it directly, but Michael Jackson wouldn't have been who he was if it wasn't for James Brown. And he said that many times himself. Now, see, if it wasn't for Michael Jackson, there wouldn't have been a Justin Bieber, a Justin Timberlake the way he was. And if it wasn't for Justin Timberlake, who took huge influence from Michael Jackson, there wouldn't have been a Justin Bieber. So you can actually follow these artists through the generations.
You look at artists like, I mean, looking back to like Elvis, who like took a lot for blues, and James Brown. And when you look at like these guys, the influence they had on people like Michael Jackson, Prince, others, right? It's phenomenal. These were the kind of pioneers. Gil Scott Heron, right? Who I know you like.
Yep. The revolution will not be televised.
I'm right. I'm right. And like when you listen to Gil Scott Heron, you listen to like Tell Us Will Not Be, the revolution will not be televised, Waiting on the Moon, and The Bottle, which is all about like substance abuse.
Yep.
You know, you're sitting like 10, 20 years later and you're going, you can tell us you've been lifted from it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
The early, for me, like the early rap music, it started off kind of poppy and then got, you know, pretty hardcore and it was, you know, these angry young men screaming at the world and going, look, this sucks. We're trying our best and we're getting nowhere no matter what we do, and the system's against us.
Yep.
And that comes directly to me from Gil Scott Heron.
Yep.
You know, these guys are pioneers, you know. And as you say, it's good to recognise like this is why they do it.
Look at NWA, right? So NWA were one of those groups that you're talking about, which were just how many were in? Like 6 or so, 6 angry young men. They were singing protest songs, but 30 years before that, Marvin Gaye was singing protest. What's going on is the ultimate protest
album in vinyl.
It's one of the best albums of all time. That's a protest album, but it's got love songs and stuff in it, and yep, absolutely. But ultimately, what's going on is a protest album, and you get that same theme. Now it's done in different ways. As I say, Marvin Gaye, NWA, Rage Against the Machine. Maybe different genres there, but I'm finding this hard to answer because I've just had so many things influence each stage of my life. But major bands, you're looking at Guns N' Roses. Can I pick 5 for you? Right.
Your answers. I wasn't looking for top 10s or anything like that. I was just
I know.
General, you know, the things that made you go, wow.
Okay, you know? The things that made, okay, here's the artist that changed my direction. Guns N' Roses for sure. Huge influence. Finding the Beatles again as a grown man. So having them played.
Have you watched the thing on Disney Plus?
I've not got to it yet. It's on. Every day that I speak to he's raving about it, but hopefully over the Christmas sort of period I'll get to see that. So Guns N' Roses, the Beatles, Jay-Z. So I know you're like, how did you get from the Beatles to Jay-Z? But hugely influential. Pink Floyd and Marvin Gaye's Marvin Gaye's got the greatest voice of all time. I absolutely love him.
Really?
So yeah. So
I'm not arguing, by the way.
Oh, he's just him and Tammy Terrell and just amazing, absolutely amazing. So that I find inspiration in for all of these groups, and they've kind of did it. I could probably add another 1,000 onto that, but they've inspired me over the years for sure.
So I mean, like, I don't think any have really made it to any great degree into the last 20 years from it. Some, you know, more modern. What can you know, what you plugging in when you're walking into the gym. You know, that's more recent.
Biffy Clyro, I seen them a couple of months back. We actually bumped into Biffy Clyro in Ashton Lane one night, and Tracy and I were standing. I don't even remember what bar we were in, but the boys were in. They're only for down in Kilmarnock. They're only for Ayrshire, and that was one of the ones where I thought to myself, "Nah, you don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that goes over to talk to them." And I regret not going over. Simon wasn't there, but the two brothers were, and I can't remember their names now. But Simon, the lead singer, was there, but the two brothers were, and I still regret not going over and just. But as I say, they're there to enjoy their night out, so I didn't want to do that. So Biffy Clyro, modern day. Oh, who else? Tell you, let's see. Do you know, actually, Spotify done this really cool thing where they told you what your Blink-182, there's another band. So
I was never a big fan of the kind of early 2000s metals, but like guys started playing it in the gym. I started listening to it a bit more, and I had some Blink-182, some Offspring, and stuff like that. So I now what do you call them? Disturbed a couple like some of their stuff as well.
James. I mean, right, so this was my top. I'm not going to read all of these out, right, but I'll very quickly give you some of the artists. So Spotify gave me my top songs of 2021, right? So this will show you how mixed this is. So I've got Biffy Clyro, the Bee Gees, right? Don't ask when I was listening to the Bee Gees.
No judging.
Rag and Bone Man, there's a modern day great. Yeah. What a singer he is. Van Morrison, Counting Crows, Pink. Pink's probably the best show person I've ever seen. Anybody who's listening to this, go and see Pink if you've got a chance. She's fantastic. Pink Floyd, the Notorious B.I.G., Stormzy, there's another one, right? Snow Patrol, I kind of went off with Snow Patrol. James, Blondie, Rage Against the Machine. Damien Rice, there's another one, who Irish singer, tremendous. So my musical influences are just all over the place, and I'm happy for the fact that they're all over the place.
No, I'm much the same. Like
love everything.
I've got a lot of vinyl there, as well as like the digital stuff. And
yeah,
one of the groups you mentioned there was Blondie. Was a huge fan back in the day, and I still. And again, I think that she influenced a lot of female singers back in the early 80s.
Yep.
Right up, and you can see you can see her footprints, and so even some of the female bands and singers today.
Oh, aye, yeah.
Same with Kate Bush.
Yep.
We were a couple of like female singers, and a kind of time where you had female singers, but they weren't really having an effect that the bands and the male singers were having. Now you're as likely to have like Pink at number one as you are to have like James Blunt or or something.
Yeah.
So no, fair play with that one. Not a time for Blondie.
Yep.
We're going to move on. I have got my own the timer here.
That's all right. That's okay.
Right, we're going to break it up a wee bit.
Okay.
Same question. Books. Now, you read a lot.
I try to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Here's the thing. You either read a lot or you open a book, take a picture of it, stick it on Instagram, put it back down again.
Nowadays, that's more of it. To be honest, that's one of my big sort of things, is to try and dedicate more time to it. But I know you haven't asked your question here, but and I'm already interrupting. But a lot of the times I will go in and just sort of pick at things. So I'll read a couple of chapters on that, but then I'll end up reading about something else. So eventually I'll get through a book, but it might have been merged with 15 other books, which drives my wife absolutely nuts because they're all lying about the house and she goes crazy over that. But hey ho.
I've got I remember like somebody put up on Facebook, what's the best invention ever? Mm-hmm. Right? There is one. It's the written word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that there's nothing that we do that there's nothing. I don't think there's in our modern society that didn't come from or somebody writing something on paper, whether it's lyrics or how to build a house.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody wrote something to me. The written word is I've huge reverence for books. Don't read enough. Now trying to go through audiobooks, which I thoroughly enjoy. And again, I'm reading books now that I read when I was 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
For me, it was literally started off with fairy tales. Fairy tales, flew through them when I was about 10. Loved them, read about a big book like that, moved through them, then read it again. Got to high school, started reading The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Then started the Lord of the Rings. It took me 18 months to get through the Lord of the Rings when I was about 12.
Yep.
Read it, about 15 times since. Sherlock Holmes, the complete works of every Sherlock Holmes story,
Yep.
I've read about a dozen times. And I actually went through them all again recently on the audiobook.
Yep.
So I know that this is, built up my love literature and non-fiction as well. Where did you start? Was it like the kind of, this is where I started, this is where I am?
Yeah.
No one here started off with the Beano, and 20 years later you're on Grimm's fairy tales, but you're aiming high.
Indeed. Books, I used to just breathe in books, would just go through books constantly, and it literally could have been anything. The books that again, from being at an age where I was mature enough to be picking books for myself and stuff. You get to that stage where you like music or movies or whatever it is. Was the first books that I actually remember as a teenager really enjoying, and these are quite strange choices for a teenager, were the Thomas Harris Hannibal Lecter books.
All right.
I know that's quite that's a curveball just to throw in there.
No.
But I remember being in East Kilbride and buying my very first DVD player. Now, when you bought a DVD, it was an absolute fortune at that time. Right? I wasn't getting into HMV and getting it like at a fiver. And the first DVD I ever bought was Silence of the Lambs. Right? I know, I don't know why, but anyway, I did. So I wasn't 13 at the time. Must have been 16 or 17. But I remember buying this DVD player. And again, for the people that are only listening, I'm trying to show the size. This was about this size, huge, big DVD player, and Silence of the Lambs. And after watching that was at a stage where I was just reading all the time, and I thought, I'm going to read these books. So you'd Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and the one that I didn't really know was connected until before, and that goes back to a good movie, was Red Dragon. And Brian Cox, another Scot, played Hannibal Lecter in the movie Manhunter. It was Michael Mann directed that actually before.
I was going to say, I'll try to remember who it was.
It was Michael Mann, and Brian Cox played not the scientist that you and I love, but the actor. He played Hannibal Lecter first, and I remember reading them in order. So in order, it would have been Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and then Hannibal. So those were the three first sort of actual fiction stuff that I get really into. Going back to Terminator 2, I remember getting the book of Terminator 2. Like, they would make the movie and then they would release like the novel after it. And that was at the time when I was just digesting books all the time. You were mentioning sort of fiction and non-fiction there. The best fiction book that I've ever read, and I've told people this story before, but when I finished this book, I was in East Kilbride Starbucks, and there was actually a tear running down my eye, and it was the Kite Runner. Anybody that hasn't read the Kite Runner, if you're taking anything away from this podcast, It's the greatest book I've ever read in my life. And I was sitting, I can still picture myself sitting in Starbucks, finishing this book and actually crying. So this grown man sitting in the middle of the coffee shop with a tear running down my face over this book, The Kite Runner, and one of the probably best non-fiction books of modern time is Sapiens. Sapiens is just, you've got Sapiens, and then his second book was Homo Deus, is Naval Noah Harari. There's another recommendation for you, which pretty much takes you from the beginning of mankind all the way through. And then Homo Deus is his ideas of what the future's going to be.
I've read Sapiens. Well, listen to it. I find that I'm short of time to sit down and listen, read a book. So I drive a lot, so I tend to listen to audiobooks. And I know you read the Stephen Fry
Brilliant
books.
Brilliant. He's one of my heroes, actually. He's one of the guys that I would have. Now you get that question about who would you invite to a dinner party?
Yeah.
He's always first in my list. I think he's my number one celebrity of all time. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I really like it. I loved him, like, you know, when he was in Blackadder and The Young Ones, and
perfect.
You know,
he's just,
you know, he never fails, you know, to produce the goods, whatever he's playing, and of course he was in like one of my favourite films, V for Vendetta.
Yep. He's got 3 autobiography books.
I've read them. The first 2 are brilliant, and I didn't like the third.
There was a lot of repetition in the autobiographies. That was a problem. That might have been the first time in my life I've ever semi-criticised Stephen Fry, by the way. And then he done the Mythos and Heroes and Troy books as well.
Right.
The guy's a genius. He's a genius.
Yes, I'm really. He's one of these guys. If I did see him, I would go up and say, "Hi, how you doing?" If it's okay, can I have a selfie?
100%.
You know, there's other people that I just go, you know. But I think Stephen Fry, I think he would be reasonably approachable.
Yes, I think so. We seen him in Edinburgh doing these his show on Mythos a couple of years back. This is pre-COVID, and it was actually his birthday, and I didn't realise it was his birthday, but obviously a lot of the people that were there were big fans of his. And when he'd walked out, the full theatre started singing "Happy Birthday" to him, and he stood there, and you could just tell how touched he was.
I think he's self-effaced. I think he is quite a humble guy.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of possibly a wee bit uncomfortable with his fame and his, you know, his perceived intelligence. But I just think he's probably one of, you know, you say, national treasures.
100%. Honestly, we should start the Stephen Fry fan club. I adore the man. Honestly, I do. And see, when he's like Morgan Freeman, see when you're reading his books, again, example, The Shawshank Redemption, that wasn't actually a full book by Stephen King. It was what's called a novella. So it was a short story.
Yeah.
And it's actually called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why you get the story about the poster and that in the movie. But I read that in Morgan Freeman's voice. Because of course you do. So every Stephen Fry book that I read, Stephen Fry reads it. And it just makes it even better. I can't do it. I had a membership to Audible and I tried to do it, but it always feels to me like you're cheating on the author. I know that it's a good way of doing it because you don't have. I listened to Bill Bryson, the thing with history of what's it called?
The whole short history of nearly everything.
Yes, was the last one.
That's a good few years old now.
Well, I had that downloaded on Audible and listened to that one, and I can't bring myself to do it. I just feel it's no. I don't know. So I'm sticking to podcasts with Audible stuff, but no, I would rather, and that's where I fail now because I just don't have the time to sit and dedicate an hour of my day to reading. Although I wish I did.
I would recommend the Richard P. Feynman books on Audible. His life. I don't know if you know who he is. He's most people will be able to tell you that they're like 10 favourite fighters or footballers or that, right?
Yep.
You meet scientists and you've got Einstein, next to that is Feynman, then it's Dirac and Bohr. And but Feynman, American, brought up, clever man, but also his father was really involved in, trying to make the world interesting to him. Ended up working on the Manhattan Project,
right,
and done a lot of work in quantum electrodynamics, and he had the most interesting life and the most interesting attitude to life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into details, but if I think I may have a copy of it, I'll give you the book. Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, and you'll fall in love with this man.
Please do it.
It's kind of this kind of eccentricity and humility.
Yeah,
but a bit like Stephen Fry. Like, he was the guy that discovered why the Challenger blew up on liftoff.
Yeah.
And if I remember, I'll send you a clip of him proving his point in court.
Okay.
These I've kind of read a lot of the stuff you're mentioning yourself. Growing up, you see, for me it was fun. It was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I kind of started off, my thing was 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like some fantasy in that. Then Lord of the Rings came in. Well, it didn't come in. Much older Lord of the Rings and read it. And that led me to munch through about 60 fantasy books. I was just some of them some of them were just dreadful. Some pulp. And then I think in the early 80s I read Dune, then the film came out, and I literally fell in love with the mythology in there. The 1984 Dune film is objectively a bad film, but there's some beauty in it.
Yeah.
And there's some good storytelling in it, and that's why there's they're trying to remake it. So, this is when you're younger. Like, for you, what's the stuff? You see, Lord of the Rings, Holmes, Dune, this and stuff. Where you've got a lot of times it's the hero's journey.
Yep.
As they say, whether it's Gawain and the Green Knight, King Arthur.
Do you know what just came back to me there was Stephen King. Just when you were talking there, I read a lot of Stephen King as a young sort of teenager.
Did you ever read a book called Weave World? I think it was a Stephen King book.
Weave World.
I'll need to check it. I'm pretty
What's
sure
that one about?
It's a long story. I'll double check it.
I don't remember that one. But Stephen King played a huge influential part in my sort of. I keep saying early reading. I can't really remember until I was maybe 14, 15, 16. At that age, you probably should or could be reading Stephen King. I certainly wasn't. I wasn't reading it as a 10-year-old, but as I remember being a teenager, Stephen King played a huge part. He had a book called Dreamcatcher. Is that what you're thinking about?
No, I'm actually pulling it up here. It's by Clive Barker, not Stephen King.
No, so Stephen King was a huge part of my teenage years as well. So he was, yep.
So where are you going to go for here, reading wise?
Well,
I know you're studying now.
Yeah.
Is your study you're studying, reflecting what you're reading, or you're going to, take a break from studies and try and read something that kind of breaks your concentration.
That's another brilliant question, and I think your questions are so good because obviously you know me, but that's a brilliant question, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think you get through a stage where, so I'm 40 next year, and you get through a stage where you're maybe, it's one of those ones, and I'll say this honestly, because I know that most people listening to this would have done the same thing. It's, have you read that? Oh, yeah, I've read it. And you're just telling people you've read stuff when you've not really read it. Like like Lord of the Rings. There's millions of people out there that will tell you they've read Lord of the Rings, and they actually haven't read Lord of the Rings. My point being is, there was a stage where I was reading or trying to read and not getting anywhere with books that I thought people would think I would read.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bit of trying to prove something to myself with that, as far as this is going to improve me intellectually, or this is going to improve me, like, just my general knowledge about stuff. And I would drop away for a lot of these books. And not that very long ago, I changed my mind with that. And I actually said, you know what? If you go back to when you loved reading, it's because you loved reading. Mm-hmm. You were reading stuff that you loved. And that's where I've went back to. Yeah. That's where I've went back to. So I had come away from fiction quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is because I'm studying now and hopefully reading non-fiction, that I'm finding that I'm being drawn more to books that are just for fun, that are fictitious, that are just good stories that I want to read. Unless it's I've asked Santa Claus for Stephen Fry's Ties, which is his new book. So hopefully that'll arrive from Christmas morning. But
I think there's a certain wisdom in revisiting the literature that made you want to read.
Yep.
I spent years non-fiction, like Sam Harris, with Christopher Hitchens, Dawkins.
Yep.
Stuff like to do with the industry and construction. Some philosophy, just. And
that was me. Yeah.
And it was my daughter, and I went, I need to start reading fiction again.
Yeah, that's me. Exactly.
You need to. I think it's good for emotional development.
Yeah.
You want a story to hit you somewhere, and I throw in with that. I mean, even I would say mythos isn't fiction; it's clearly fiction. Jesus, it's not this. And they're good stories, good storytelling. And again, I also tried trying some of the books that people said, oh, you should read this.
Yeah.
So Slaughterhouse 5 with Vonnegut was a fantastic book and really kept me embroiled all the way through it. And Fahrenheit 451, which was really good and was not the book that I understood it was going to be.
Yep.
Because I thought it was this polemic about, people burning books, right? There's so much more to it than that. And if you read it for the first time and now, you go, this could have been written last year.
Yep.
And I think really good writing kind of transcends eras, and both of them do.
See, I don't know, possibly sum up this subject that we're on at the minute. As far as the Kite Runner was made into a movie, which I swore and have never ever watched. I swore down I'm never ever going to watch this movie because that book is fictitious. It's a fiction novel, but as I say, and what you're saying there as well about it just hitting me to the degree where I'm on a podcast talking about sitting in as a grown man sitting in a coffee shop crying over it. That wee world that book made in my head, the film would waste because I would have Morgan Freeman reading the Shawshank Redemption. So the characters in the Kite Runner are in my head. One of them was actually one of the wee boys in it is called Amir, which is the name of my wee boy, and I wonder if that pulled in the heartstrings and stuff as well.
I'll give it a listen to it, and we'll get a chat at some point.
No, see, you got to read it. You got to read it. You find it's a this size a novel. It's
okay, right.
Honestly, that's. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to buy you that. That'll be a late Christmas present.
Okay, you get me that, and I'll get you Richard Feynman. Right.
Right. Deal. Okay.
We'll switch him over.
Okay.
But I'm actually going to wrap it up at that. I literally have 4 questions for you.
No worries at all. So are we not going to talk about martial arts at all?
That was my ambition, not to touch on martial arts whatsoever.
I think it's good, as I say, the plan was to put this out as a Christmas special because of the timing, and I think it's been good for people to get a wee idea of who it is that's actually running the show. So that was the reason why I done it. I think it gives people a chance to. This is why I'm so wary of. You wouldn't think it with how often I post, but I keep saying, look, if you read my social media, take the majority of it with a pinch of salt. And if you want to know what I actually think about stuff, listen to the podcast, because if you're watching it, you can see my expression, you can see me getting excited about stuff. If you're listening, you can hear the tone, you know hopefully where I'm coming from, because this long forum gives you a chance to actually understand what somebody's actually saying.
This was what I wanted to do, and I'd asked a couple of people for suggestions. And,
all right, okay.
And I thought, what is it you like apart from martial arts? And this, you read, you like movies, you're always playing the guitar, and I thought, in essence, this is the guy behind the Kicky Punchy in the podcast.
Yep.
And you've done like 50 odd podcasts about most of them about martial arts.
Yep.
So I thought, no, strip you down, and that was my ambition, and I think we done okay with that.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. It's been really enjoyable actually, and it's been hard not to forget or try and remember. Sorry that it's not me that should be asking the questions.
Yeah, I was waiting on that, and I was going to go. Excuse me, no, this.
I know. I tried. I've done it a couple of times, and then my head, I kind of controlled it. But yeah. So right, for the listeners, I'll try my best. You should hopefully be getting this before Christmas time, which is only a couple of days now, 2 days. Stevie, you see, this is a bit where you need to say, Karim, thank you so much for joining us today. But
I'm waiting for you shutting up.
I know. Right, it's over to you. Go.
For the listeners, it's been emotional. It's been fun. I have really enjoyed this. It's been really good, and thanks, Karim, for giving me the opportunity.
Yep.
To do it, and we'll maybe do it again in a year's time, and I'll try and get another 4 curveballs for you.
Yep. As I say, you've been absolutely brilliant at it. So, time for you to have your own podcast.
Yeah, we'll see.
You never know. Right, Stevie. Okay. God bless you.
Right, thank you so much, mate.
And I'll definitely get that book for you. And have a wonderful Christmas.
You too, mate.
All right, my man. Take it easy.